Welcome everyone to my best movies of 2021. This has been an absolute epitastic year for movies. Movies are back. We have less delays, still a few delays, but we still have our movies back. Theaters are rising again despite the circumstances. People are going out to see movies, and this has been a very interesting year of movies. Because last year we barely had any new movies coming out. So this year we finally got movies back again. And my list is a pretty big, massive list. This is going to be a massive list. So this is probably going to be just as long as my best of 2019. But I'm going to try not to make it too long. Because I'm going to go through at least some of these quickly. But if it's something I really want to talk about, I will definitely talk about it. And before I get started, this is my list. So if you don't like the list of movies here, please don't get upset with me. This is how the list is, and this is what I intended for the list, of course. And also, if you disagree with a certain choice, a movie that I like but you didn't, please do not get angry. I want to hear you guys' best list in the comment section down below. So comment down below what is your best movies of the year. If you like more like this, because we are going to be here for a while, be sure to like this video, comment in this video, and share this video as well. So hit that subscribe button. We have 30 movies to talk about. A lot of honorable mentions I ain't going to talk about. I'm just going to go through each of them. And the very few I want to talk about, I'll talk about those. So, with that being said, let's get into my best movies of 2021. Before I get on to my best of 2021, I do have quite a couple honorable mentions. This is a mix of smaller movies, big movies, movies that you never heard about, movies that didn't get the attention they deserve. There's a lot to go through, but the main three, the last three, I do want to talk about. But these are my honorable mentions in no particular order. We have, first up, Luca, Disney Pixar's Luca, Batman, The Long Halloween, Pieces of a Woman, Mortal Kombat 2021, Encanto, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, Zola, Free Guy, Those Who Wish Me Dead, Space Jam: A New Legacy, Malignant, Licorice Pizza, SpongeBob 3 Sponge on the Run, The Many Saints of Newark, Minari, Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry, Saint Maud, Army of the Dead, Spencer, Black Widow, The Guilty, Son, A Loud House Christmas, The Matrix Resurrections, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and Nobody. The top three honorable mentions I want to talk about the most. The Protégé. The Protégé was a very entertaining action movie with Maggie Q. So much fun. It's definitely a badass, kick-ass movie with an Asian lead. Maggie Q is high in it.
Correct!
Okay. Michael Keaton was fun. I loved Samuel Jackson. It's definitely not the greatest thing ever. It definitely does suffer from quite a few issues. But for what I got out of The Protégé, I very much enjoyed.
Bam! What?
Gunpowder Milkshake. Now, you can disagree with me if you want to on this. I definitely do have my issues with it, with some of the underutilization of some of the girls in here. I feel like they should have had a little bit more to do. I do wish there was a main guy to help them on the run, which you could kind of fix that in the second movie. The tone takes itself a little bit too seriously at points, and I will say that it is a little bit slow paced in the first couple of minutes. But for the things I like in this movie, I still like. The performances were good. Karen Gillan shows why she can be a badass. And by the way, Lucasfilm, Karen Gillan for Mara Jade. That is my fan casting. She would make a fantastic Mara Jade. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. Yes!
And with Gunpowder 2, and some of the writing could have been better. So I do hope when it comes to Gunpowder Milkshake 2, you can learn from your mistakes and make a better movie. My last honorable mention for best movies 2021 is going to be Spiral from the Book of Saw, the ninth entry in the Saw franchise. This brought back the Saw series after Jigsaw and Saw 3D were a bit frustrating. I very much enjoy Spiral from the Book of Saw. It is the best Saw movie since the third film, and I do like the 4, 5, and 6, and I can enjoy 7 and Jigsaw. But this movie delivered on what it set out to do. It gave the franchise some much needed new blood by focusing on the investigation of the killer and of the deaths and the police corruption, rather than focusing on the traps mainly, which these movies are known for. I thought Chris Rock was a very convincing as Zeke Banks. Samuel L. Jackson, I very much enjoy his comedy and his rapport rivalry with Chris Rock. The rest of the cast is really good. The twist of the movie is a bit predictable, which is one of the issues I have. And a little bit of the editing is a bit iffy. But everything I loved about Spiral from the Book of Saw is enough to warrant it on this honorable mentions list at least. And the two of these traps in this movie definitely does get to me. Is the wax trap, but the two traps that got to me the most is the opening tongue trap and the freaking finger trap. The finger trap was very intense. All honorable mentions, all entertaining to good to great movies. Just couldn't fit them on this list. But what did make my top 30 best list, here's the actual list. We're going to get started, and let's go into number 31. Number 31, we have The Power of the Dog. The Power of the Dog is one of two Netflix Western movies you'll be seeing here on this list that I very much really enjoyed. This is definitely a really great film. This is a movie that is different from other Westerns that you've seen. Everything about this movie, technically wise, is perfect. And this is a very nice character study piece. It's very thematically rich, and this is definitely a movie that's not going to be for everybody. And I love the performances of everyone in this cast. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch did a great job playing this character who is an asshole-like character, but at the same time he does have a heart. With this whole rivalry with his brother and his wife and kid. Kirsten Dunst I thought was really good. This is one of her best roles I've seen her do. Jesse Plemons was great. Cody Smith-McPhee was really good. Thomas and Mackenzie I very much really loved. She's not in it as much, but I thought she was great. There's another movie on here I'll get onto her this. And the directing, the writing, and the cinematography, and the costume design, and the production design. This is a very well-made film, and it's definitely, like I said, this is a character study that is not going to be for everybody, but I do think this is a very great film, and it is definitely a movie that should be in the Criterion Collection. If you've not seen Power of the Dog, watch it on Netflix and definitely watch this movie. And this is definitely a really good film.
The most dangerous creature on this whole earth. It's a woman who know how to think.
Yes, Daddy.
Ain't nothing she can't do. You gonna show them how dangerous you are? Venus and Serena gonna shake up this world. Venus Williams, who is your best friend?
You, Daddy.
Serena Williams, who is your best friend?
Venus. Then you. Then you after Venus.
Coming in number 30, we have King Richard. King Richard tells the story of Richard Williams as he coaches his daughters Serena and Venus Williams. This is based on a true story and make them become two of the most legendary tennis players in history. This was a really good movie that is very just flies on the radar. I think a lot more people are not really watching this movie, even though it's Oscar season. This is definitely one of Will Smith's best performances. Will Smith is awesome. Everything he does is awesome. He's fantastic in the role as King Richard. You could tell he's a little bit of a douche, but at the same time, he is pushing his kids for excellence. And if Will Smith gets shut out by the Academy Award next year, I will think it's very much crime, because Will Smith, at this point, he deserves that Academy Award for this. He transcends into this performance with a lot of good emotion, heart, and some determination. The rest of the actors, the two actors who plays the daughters, I thought were really great. Anjanu Ellis was great. John Berthel and the rest, everyone in the cast was great. The direction by Renato Marcus Green was great. It has a great screenplay, it has great cinematography, and it's more than just a biopic about tennis. It's about family, and it has a heart to it. The only issue that I do have with King Richard and why it's not higher on my list is because I will say the movie is just a little slightly long, and there is some biopic. It does follow the biopic tropes, but at the end of the day, I still really loved King Richard, and this movie I definitely think a lot of you guys should check out. It is a very underappreciated film of 2021. And number 29, we're kicking off with some scary movies on this list. And this is not the only scary movie you'll be seeing on this list.
Because that's what it may very well cost me.
Lorraine?
The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. Not many people really like The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I enjoyed it for what it was as a fan of the first two movies. It does miss the direction of James Wan. That's the one thing I'll give you. And it does suffer a little bit from some slow pacing. But I think The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, it managed to do what it set out to do. It focuses it focuses on something else other than demons for a change. It focuses on a story about the devil making this kid commit crimes. It focuses on the story that reaches out to with some good scares, some great character moments for Ed and Lorraine Warren with Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. A different change of pace and the motivation for the threat of the story is there, and I very much think that the movie delivered on what it set out to do. And I think Michael Chavez, he did a really great job. He upped his game from The Curse of La Llorona. Very well shot, creepy music, some great performances. It was nice to see one of the kids from WandaVision again. It does have its issues. I think this is a solid entry in the Conjuring universe and a good third installment, if not final, entry to the Warrens storyline. Coming in 28th place on this list is...
Thank you, Malcolm. That is it.
You know that I'm thankful. You know that I made a mistake. So why turn it into something more?
Because about how you see this relationship. Look at me. I'm the last person standing.
I don't care you.
Hold on to me for dear life.
Malcolm and Marie, starring Zendaya and John David Washington as a couple, a filmmaker and his girlfriend. They are dealing with a big romantic reckoning, and painful revelations and tensions are revealed here. I know this is not an easy movie to watch, but I think this is a very good movie. It's a very well done movie. And this is a movie that I think actually could have been... This for a while, this was my favorite movie of the year so far. I like the direction by Sam Levinson, who created Euphoria. The script allows both performances of these two characters, because it is them for a good majority of this entire movie and nobody else, to fully bring out their chemistry as a couple who is tested by personal trials and revealed. The script and the flurry, while this movie is honest, it's also visceral. This is a good relationship drama that is a evisceration of currently online film discourse, which this movie definitely has something to say about it. Also, on top of that, this movie, it is a very raw and exhausting, creative differences between a couple and how it plays a role into the relationship. And it does talk about the ups and downs of being a filmmaker. There is one scene in particular that is my favorite scene in the entire movie, where John David Washington as Malcolm, he rants, has this whole monologue, and one of my favorite film scenes of this entire about film criticism. And when you stop and wonder, you realize that he's right, because film criticism, some people can't take film criticism. Some critics do just want a little too much, or sometimes. But I really did love Malcolm and Marie, and I thought it was a very good movie. Coming in 27th place, we have...
I have to tell them.
Dear Evan Hansen. I think this is one of the more underappreciated musicals of the year. Yes, the story and the subject matter that they're tackling is very, very divisive. And not only that, while I do agree that there should be consequences for our main character, and while some of the writing is still a bit iffy, I'm being honest when I say it. I do not hate Dear Evan Hansen. I think this is a really good movie. It's definitely flawed in terms of the screenwriting. It is a little too long, but I think this is a good musical counterpart with competent direction, a good message about social anxiety, fantastic songs, some great performances from the cast. Ben Platt is really good in the role, despite his age difference. I think Julianne Moore, Amy Adams, and Amanda Stenberg is also really good in the film. And I will definitely say that I think my favorite performance in the movie is Caitlin Dever. Caitlin Dever, this is not my favorite musical of the year. I do think this is better than what people make it out to be. It definitely has some of the musical numbers in this movie are my favorites. I love You Will Be Found, and I think the movie is very well directed. There is some iffy writing, of course, and I do wish there were some consequences for Evan Hansen himself and some changes to the play that people won't like. But as someone who is a fan of musicals and musical films, as someone who hasn't seen the Broadway play, I think Dear Evan Hansen did a lot more good than bad. And if you don't like the movie, that's fine, but I do like it for what it was. I understand, not for everybody, but I enjoy it. Coming to number 26 on this list is Nomadland.
Him again. And I can be certain in my heart I'll see you again.
Yes, this is by the director of these homes, Chloe Zhao. This is her Oscar winner movie. How do you go from a disappointing movie like Eternals after your big Oscar win? I just don't understand. But this movie, I definitely thought this was a really good movie. Very meditative, gorgeously shot, and it's not a big action movie. It is not gonna be for everyone, but I like the acting, the uniqueness to the way the story is told, to the direction of the film, even to the point with the performance of this movie. Now, it is unique storytelling, and sometimes unique storytelling won't be for everyone, but it doesn't have a lot of story, and it is invested. It is a movie that I do love. It is a great film. And Chloe Zhao does a good job here, like she did with direction and Charles for the most part in the movie. But Frances McDormand, I thought it was really good. I like the very cerebral take on the movie. I think that it definitely did have a message to say about going on a journey after losing everything in the Great Recession and living as a van dwelling modern day woman. Very good movie. It's very short. I didn't get a chance to review this early this year because it came on Hulu, but this is a really good movie that I think you all should check out. If you were disappointed with Eternals, trust me when I say this is better than that movie. Kicking this list off at number 25, we have Judas and the Black Messiah. This told the story of Fred Hampton, and who was the chairman of the Black Panther Party, who was assassinated by a Cook Country Tactical Unit on the orders of the FBI and Chicago Police Department. And this one deceptive character, played by Lakeith Stanfield, pretends to be part of it so he could try to uncover the case. And this, of course, another movie that is not for everybody, but I definitely really do like this movie a lot. It is a very rousing dramatization of historical events. It's a rich, infuriating history lesson propelled by incredible direction by Shaka King, the performances by Daniel Kaluuya, who definitely deserve his Oscar, Lakeith Stanfield, and of course Jesse Plemons. Everyone in this movie is really good. Dominique Fishback is also really good in the movie, and it's very stylistic at times. The editing is well done. It is a pretty blatant example of police brutality and the cruelty against those only trying to make an impact and stand up for culture. And this is definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So you do have to know what mindset you are in to watch a movie like this, because otherwise you won't be able to enjoy this as much as you should. And that's why it's at least a little bit low on this list, but even with all that, I still think this is a very good movie that definitely it is worthy of a watch if you can take the subject matter, because we all know that racist hate is ugly. Even Spike Lee tells us that. So, Judas and the Black Messiah, if you can handle this, I would recommend it. But if you can't handle the police brutality, don't watch it. Now, in 24th place,
I think we opened the gates of hell.
Hey, have you missed us?
we have the new Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters Afterlife. This is definitely a huge step up from the 2016 movie, which I hate. I am a big fan of the first two movies, which I love. And this showed me why I love Ghostbusters in the first place. This is handled with so much care and so much respect and so much depth and so much loyalty. Even the director in this movie is really good. This is he gave Ghost the director of this movie, Jason Reitman. He's a very competent director. He has to follow in his father's footsteps. This is the Ghostbusters movie that we should have gotten, and it redeemed the franchise with a great sense of nostalgia, which is very well done, especially in those last 10 minutes with the ghost of Harold Ramis and the original three Ghostbusters. Compelling and interesting characters to back it up, like Carrie Coon. You have Finn Wolfhard was great, McKenna Grace, Paul Rudd were the standouts of this entire movie. Heartfelt passion and love put into this, and this is a very satisfying sequel to the first two movies. It's definitely very well done from the cinematography standpoint, to a production design standpoint, to a musical standpoint, and the visual effects are absolutely phenomenal. I have no problems with Carrie Coon in this movie. She's a great actress. She does a fantastic job. Some of the other cast is really good. The main issues I do have with this movie is that I do wish that the movie did have a little bit more characterization for some of the rest of the supporting characters, and it did take a while to get going in the first half. But once it gets into high gear, I did like the Ghostbusters action. I very much like seeing Olivia Wilde as Gozer. I know some people have a problem with that. And when you get to those last couple of minutes with the original Ghostbusters and the Ghost of Egon, it is very satisfying. And the Ghostbusters action is still a lot of fun to watch. So, having seen this twice now, I could say that I was very satisfied with Ghostbusters Afterlife. And this is also, unfortunately, the last movie for Ivan Reitman to be his producer, so rest in peace. This was a very satisfying Ghostbusters film. Coming in 23rd place, we have the last Daniel Craig Bond movie, and that is No Time to Die.
There will be nothing left to save.
I have to finish this. You ever flown like this?
Nope.
This just came out on Blu-ray, DVD, yesterday. But No Time to Die, this, as a fan of the 007 franchise, especially the Daniel Craig ones, this was definitely worth the long wait. This is a satisfying conclusion to see our main characters and to see Daniel Craig, who's grown amazingly in this character, who's grown and grown as his character, and the send off that they gave him is so satisfying. It's the biggest, boldest, bombastic, and it is the most emotional Bond movie. Hats off to Eon Productions. You have completed a massive class of the Daniel Craig saga. This is definitely flaming massive. You only live twice, not revives. Madeline Swan. Madeline Swan, played by Leah Sedux, is definitely much better here, even though I like her picture. It has the trappings of a traditional Bond movie, but it can be very subversive when it comes to the ending of the movie, which I didn't have a problem with the ending. I think people just say it's woke for no reason. Lashana Lynch, I thought was very good. Daniel Craig, this is his movie, and he definitely should be at least in the short list or something for an Academy Award. Action scenes are great. The score is great. Kerry Fukunaga does a great job with the direction, the cinematography. Rami Malek is a very good villain. And I do have, like I said, my issues with this movie are still there. I wanted more of Ana de Armas. You could took at least 34 minutes out of this movie. I wanted a little bit more of the main villain by Rami Malek, and Christoph Waltz, as great performance he does, is a little bit unnecessary. But in a lot of ways, this movie wrapped up Daniel Craig's 5-movie long run as 007. No Time to Die. I feel incredibly satisfied despite my issues with this film. Coming in number 22.
They fool themselves. I've given you a fortune. It's time that you delivered.
When does it end? I want to know.
If you displease the right people, the world closes in on you very, very fast.
Is Nightmare Alley. Nightmare Alley is great. Guillermo del Toro is great at what he does. The fact that he's able to take money and make original content like this is fantastic. I loved Nightmare Alleys. This movie definitely has the deliciously dark campiness, and it is a very well done film. It's a very well made film, and it's not his best film, and it is a little bit slow in the second half. And this movie is long at 2 hours and 19 minutes. This is another exceptionally masterfully crafted film from Del Toro, and his visual style, the creatures and everything is on full display on screen. And you get awesome moments like the fun house, and this is a phenomenal film. It's a really good movie. It's a great film aesthetics. The performances I thought were really great, like Kate Blanchett and Bradley Cooper and Toni Collette and Rooney Mara and Willem Dafoe, David Strathairn. Everyone in this movie is great. But yes, Nightmare Alley, I think this is a very good film noir and really good movie. It is a remake of the original classic I have not seen. This is a very good movie that I think, if you don't get a chance to see it in theaters, when it hits VOD or Blu-ray, check this out. This is a really good movie that is definitely worth your time. It is a slow-paced noir, but it's very, very visually aesthetic and very visually well done. Coming in number 21. I'll let y'all be the judge of this one, because I'm not allowed to say this killer's name.
Put him back.
Candyman isn't real.
He chose you. He has purpose for you.
Tell everyone.
New to the neighborhood.
You should say it.
Candyman.
Say his name.
Nia DaCosta's Candyman. I love the original film. The sequel was okay, Farewell to the Flesh, and I really couldn't stand Day of the Dead. But this new film took what the original did and it made it its own film. Now, some people don't like this version. Some people don't like this new sequel. That's fine. This is more of a direct sequel to the original film, and it had a big task to live up to. I felt like, for me personally, it did what it set out to do. It was good. I thought it did what it was supposed to do for a sequel to the original Seaman. Definitely could have used a little bit more extra meat in the last act of the movie because it does feel like it ends a little too quickly. Definitely some of the whole racial behavior is a little bit too much when it comes to some of the characters in this film, but it does respect the social commentary in a good way, and it definitely knew exactly what it was trying to do, and it wasn't trying to be anything else. It was trying to be a very good movie, and that's what I appreciated about it. It didn't have to be something that it wasn't. That's what I loved about the film, and that's what the movie succeeded with. Neil DaCosta's direction is very stylistic, body horror, puppets, hand-drawns, creepy imagery. The writing I thought was good for the most part. I thought the performances by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II and Teyana Paris and the rest of the cast was great. I did wish Sonny Todd was in it for a little bit more than he was, because he's there. He's just not in it as much as you think he was. But I definitely did enjoy Candyman 2021 enough to put it on my best movies of the year, and it was one of my favorite horror movies of the year. So, for sure, I definitely really liked it. Continuing with my best movies of 2021, at number 20, we have To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You.
The world keeps shifting under my feet. All I want is for it to stand still. I didn't get in.
Now, the reason why this is not higher on my list is because I do enjoy the other two movies slightly more than I did this one. This one is still really good. It's a great way to close out the Laura Jean and Peter love story. Everything comes to a head. I still think that there are a lot of great things about Laura Jean and Peter that works. The chemistry between Lana Condor and Noah Centineo works. Kitty, who is getting her own show, she's a lot of fun. I very much like Janelle Parrish. You do see that they have to make a choice in the relationship. Are they going to stay together or not? And it doesn't end on a whimper. It ended just right. It didn't end on a cliffhanger. It wasn't leaving me upset. Direction, writing, and characters, I thought all of that in this movie was really strong. This is a very great conclusion to the To All the Boys series. I do wish that Netflix will release these movies on DVD and Blu-ray, because I've definitely owned them. Just a very good, satisfying conclusion to the Laura Jean and Peter love story. And I very much love this film. Coming to number 19 is we have another Netflix movie. This is called Ride or Die.
But maybe it's okay not to be okay when everything's broken.
This is of course, a Netflix romance drama with two lead girls all in love with each other, and there is basically on the road trip when it comes to that story, based on the manga of the same name. It's entirely in Japanese. My friend Kenneth, he definitely introduced me to this, and this was definitely a really well done film, from the direction to the writing to the script to the characters. I found this movie to be a very good movie. Kiku Mizuhara I thought was great. I think the other main actress was great. It is not too long of a movie. It's 2 hours and 1 minute, 21 minutes, but even through that, I felt the love story with these two characters. I think the relationship was really good. I loved the chemistry between them. I thought the characters and the story and the relationship between these two girls being in love, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. This is just one of my favorite Netflix movies. Granted, this is an LGBT movie, so it's definitely not going to be for everyone. And this is an Asian foreign film, so that's also not going to be for everyone. But I definitely would recommend checking this out. It is a really good movie. I very much enjoyed it. Not many people will, but I did. The number 18 is Belfast.
I know nothing else but Belfast.
Go now. Don't look back.
Kenneth Branagh really redeemed himself after whatever Artemis Fowl was, and I loved this film. It was absolutely fantastic. This is a very charming and sweet film that is pretty much about also a personal, heartwarming, and really entertaining, really good film that allows Kenneth Branagh to bring a lot of heart and a lot of soul to a very personal story that in a semi-biographical way that he wanted to tell it. Through the world where you get to see this main character played by Jude Hill, and in the midst of a war, and make it as effective and sentimental with some of the best performances in the movie. But also you see the struggles that this family has to go through with Jamie Dornan and Catriona Balfe, which I was really invested in. I very much loved the first time performance of Jude Hill. I thought the movie has great cinematography for a black and white film. Well done screenplay for the most part. The directing I thought was very good. I also think the score and the characters and the setting and the humor was really good. I love Judy Dench, Ciarán Hinds here. And not only that, all those work really well, but Laura McDonald also really stepped up her A game from Artemis Failure, which she was one of the few things I liked in that movie, and here she's good here. She plays the troublemaker sort of the family, and while it definitely does need a little bit more fleshing out in some areas, it's very nice to have a short and sweet story that is good to watch. Coming in 17th place, we have A Quiet Place Part 2. How do you take a movie that I already love and expand more on the sequel? You make a sequel that's just as awesome as the first film, but not only that, I think is even better than the first movie. I really adore this film. A Quiet Place Part 2 is fantastic. I thought, just from a direction standpoint, John Krasinski does a fantastic job on what this movie set out to do. He definitely delivered exactly on what he wanted, and I found this movie to be a very rewarding experience. It's so great, so awesome. I loved everything about this film. It is really good. Emily Blunt is really good. Cillian Murphy I thought was a nice addition. Digimon House I thought was really good. Noah Jupe was also really good in his role, but the easy standout of this entire movie is Millicent Simmons as her role. She is the true scene stealer. John Krasinski is able to take what he's already built on this world and made it more interesting, made it more fantastic. And it's what a great sequel is supposed to be. Full of rich, fleshed out characters, a complex story and arc that each character goes through, but it also is bold and keeps the audiences tense throughout. The only real issue that I have with this movie is that while I definitely do love a lot of things in it, that cliffhanger ending was like, really? We gonna do this shit again? But it's alright, because I still very much had a fun time with this movie. It's a lot of fun. I had me a good time. And A Quiet Place 2, I can't wait to see the spinoff, and I can't wait to see how Krasinski is going to close out his trilogy of these characters very soon. This movie is awesome. Coming in number 16, we got a Netflix movie, and that is The Harder They Fall.
That being said, you are currently in company of extremely violent individuals.
Jump, mother.
This ain't gonna end well for you.
Really?
This is a really kick-ass Western. I wish we could get more Western movies like this, because if Western movies was like this, with some creative juice and some fresh take on it, I think should be getting these every year. It's funny I say that because we also need more movies like The Green Knight and The Last Duel, which I didn't see, but I heard good things about. It's just the subject matter is too much. But The Harder They Fall, I think, is a very awesome, badass Western film. This is a great Western film. It does have the usual Western film tropes, but it has a sense of energy, great power star cast of the characters, the smart creativeness, charm, and swagger. And this stands out to be one of the better Western films in the genre and one of the better films that Netflix is doing. And it definitely does breathe life into a genre that is dying. This is the wrapped in the rough, tough exterior Western. It's a nice story about revenge, love, and family. And this is definitely a must-see fun adventure. If this had a Blu-ray or DVD Criterion, I would definitely own this. And this movie was absolutely fantastic. The visual style is amazing here. I was very impressed. It's shot on film, so it has a great texture to it. The framing, production design, and colors are immaculate. The direction by this first-time director, of course, who is Seal's brother, is fantastic. I definitely love that. It does have influences with Quentin Tarantino with dramatic violence and camera movements, but it also has a great personality. Very slick camera work, and it pairs this Western with Jay-Z, and it is a little bit of a slow pace here. I will give you that. It is 2 hours and 19 minutes, so the second act does drag just a tiny bit, and there were a few more performances that I wanted more out of, but everybody in the star-studded cast was a lot of fun. Jonathan Majors is awesome as the main hero. Idris Elba has a lot of fun as the villain. Regina King I thought was great. You also had Zazie Beetz, Daryl Lindo. It's just an all-star black cast, and that's something you don't get to see. So if Western movies can be more fun and creative like this, I'd definitely be more into it. Coming in 15th place, we got In the Heights.
Powerless. We are powerful. We'll get the dough, and once we get going, we never go.
Which a lot of you people, just like the next musical, should have went out and seen, because you people say musicals need to be taken more seriously. We get musicals like this, West Side Story and Encanto, and I'm one of the few who like Dear Evan Hansen, and nobody gives a shit about musicals. It's like Cats killed you that badly. I'm like, come on now. Come on. Cats did not ruin the musical genre. it just mess up. But In the Heights, I think this is a fantastic movie. This is definitely one of the best movies of the year. I was so impressed with In the Heights. John M. Chu did a great job respecting the culture that this movie it represents, but also it is just a fun musical on its own. I very much really appreciated that. I definitely liked that a lot when it comes to this movie. It was very worth the price of admission. I was very happy that we got a movie like this, and it was so cool, so awesome to see all these dance numbers play out. I love the music in the movie. I think the performances by every cast member was immaculate and well done. Great performances from the entire cast, and I was definitely appreciated to see how this movie will play out. And it is just awesome, to see something like this. It's definitely it definitely does speak to a lot of people, no matter what you are, but mainly Latinos and people of color. This has something to say about the right people being involved in your life to help you support your dreams. I think the performances are really great. The musical numbers is great. The cast from Melissa Barrera to Anthony Ramos to Leslie Grace. Gorgeous hottie. I can't wait to see her as Batgirl. Direction and writing and production and costume design, everything to the story is well done, is immaculately paced. There is some Spanish in the movie. It's not always subtitled, which is my only nitpick. The length doesn't bother me. The songs didn't bother me, but it respected its Broadway counterpart very well. It is a crime that this movie has to underperform the way it did, because I definitely felt like this movie should have been seen by a lot more people. But I definitely really loved In the Heights, and it was awesome. And that is my number 15. Coming in my number 14 is, of course...
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It will. It has to.
We live in a society where honor is a distant memory. Isn't that right, Batman?
Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, technically, this is still higher. It's a little lower because it's not my favorite superhero movie of the year, but for what we got, I thought this was a much better version of Justice League compared to the previous film, which I don't even hate the Joss Whedon cut. This took a lot to get through, because we never thought we were going to get it. A lot of people rubbed this off, and I was one of those people who's like, we're never going to get this, we're never going to get this, we're never going to get it, stop trying. But I saw the trailers, and I was interested, and I was still very hesitant about this movie for many reasons. But all my fears were completely put to rest when I saw the final product, and this movie just delivered on everything it promised. I've rewatched this movie quite a few times now, and this movie is fantastic. One of the best superhero movies in the way. It is a lot of ways better than the last movie. It's more in line with what Snyder set up in between his Justice League trilogy, respects what came before and after those movies. Steppenwolf, much better in this movie time around. You get more development, more motivation for his plan. It's great to see Darkseid and Decide in this movie. Cyborg and Superman are the heart and soul of this entire movie. Played amazingly by Ray Fisher and Henry Cavill. While Superman, I wanted a little bit more of him. His arc of transitioning into Superman that we know and love feels very earned in this movie and more natural than it did in the theatrical cut. The other characters, such as Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman, they have a lot more development to them as well that we didn't see. Ezra Miller, I can't wait for his Flash movie. He is my favorite Flash. I love Grant Gustin, but this Flash doesn't cry as much. Gal Gadot is still great in here, and the fact that they cut extra footage out because it was deemed unwatchable is beyond me. I love the score as well. I think the action scenes are well done, and this is just a very great film. I'm glad this got physical media release, and I'm glad that fans fought to get this version out. The only reason why it's low on the list and why it's not in my favorites is because I will say I do feel like the movie is a little bit too long. The epilogue does go on for a little bit too long. You could cut the nightmare scene and just have the epilogue with the heroes Lex Luthor and Batman meeting Martian Manhunter. The aspect ratio is a little off-putting for me personally. I don't understand this choice, but I appreciate what Zack Snyder was trying to do. Some iffy CGI, a little bit too much slow motion, and I will say there is quite a few draggy moments and points in the first half. I think if you took all of that out and fixed that and remove Amber Heard completely, I think this will be at least in the top 10. And you will have at least a 2 hour and 40-minute long runtime. As it stands, I love Zack Snyder's Justice League, and it is awesome. Coming in my number 13, this is going to be a little controversy, but we got M. Night Shyamalan's Old. I think this is one of the most underappreciated horror movies of the year. I know a lot of people do not like this. Even my friends' best movies, but this is definitely ain't his worst. First off, I like the idea of this world. It's intriguing of these people that go on vacation for a few hours, and it's not enough time that we are seeing the ones that we love age, but this project, I think he executed it as well as he could. Here in this movie, I don't think it's that great, especially with Abby Lee. But I think a lot of the rest of the performances in this movie, I have nothing but respect for Shyamalan for instance. And I think the performances all the way around, I think this movie is great. And it's nice, refreshing to have someone bold enough like Shyamalan to take these risks, to spend time with the ones we love. I think a lot of the performances in this movie, some of them were really good, like Gail Garcia Bernal, Vicky Creeps, Rufus Sewell, Alex Wolff, Thomas and McKenzie. There were quite a couple moments in it's not going to be for everyone, but I definitely enjoyed it from my own personal being. Coming in 12th place is we're going to have Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon.
The world's broken. You can't trust anyone.
Maybe it's broken because you don't trust anyone. You just have to take the first step. I just shape changed.
Dragons can do that?
Look how close my butt is to my head. It's gonna make digestion so much faster.
This is still my favorite animated film of the year, considering, despite the fact that I really love the Mitchells vs. Machines and I really love the Luca. Raya and the Last Dragon, this is a very fun animated Disney movie at heart. Yes, there are a few issues I'll give you when it comes to the villain, and I don't think the villain's that strong, even though Gemma Chan is good in this movie. And I will say, when it gets to the third act and the Sisu is taken out of it for a majority of it, that is a little annoying. But other than that, I still found a lot of great things to appreciate about Raya and the Last Dragon. It's a beautifully well done animated film with some great direction and great characters. I love the voice acting between Awkwafina and Kelly Marie Tran as Sisu and Raya. Their camaraderie, their friendship is very heartfelt. There is some good action in this movie, and it definitely respects the culture of this movie, exactly what it was trying to do. The score is also very well done by Jason Newton Howard. A few of the side characters could have been a little bit more fleshed out. It has an emotional weight and the message about trust and friendship, and it does remind me of animated Disney movies like Mulan and a bit of Avatar: The Last Airbender. This was definitely pretty much up my alley, and while it's definitely not perfect, I definitely do think this is a great film that is definitely was worth my time. It lived up to its hype in every way possible, and I very much enjoyed a lot of what this movie had to offer. So easily, number 12 is going to be Raya and the Last Dragon. In 11th place for my favorite movies of the year, we have Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch.
The spell, which was to be mortally broken.
As you know by now, we have kidnapped your son.
Well, shut up.
A message from the foreman. 1 hour to press.
You're fired.
Really?
Don't cry in my office.
Ever since this movie was announced last year, and I've been very curious about The French Dispatch. Wes Anderson is a very great filmmaker. I love his style. Something about his style just speaks out to me. It's very creative, it's very fluent, it's very epictastically awesome, and I do like what he was doing in this movie. It's not my favorite Wes Anderson movie by any means necessary, but this is the most Wes Anderson that I've seen Wes Anderson goes. I love a lot of his other movies. A lot of his movies are really good. I love The Grand Budapest Hotel. Moonrise Kingdom, I think, is really good. Isle of Dogs, I think, is great. My favorite of his is Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's a very well-directed film. I think a lot of performances by all of the cast is really good, from Benicio del Toro to Timothée Chalamet to Frances McDormand to Adrian Brody to Lewis Sado to Elizabeth Moss to Lena Koji, who is a newcomer who I would definitely be looking out for. Cinematography in this movie is very well done. The visual style that has to go through each of these anthology stories, that you get a different aspect ratio, a different tone, and a different visual style. It does deal with journalism, and the anthology stories, I think, is very well done. It definitely does have a few issues with some characters and such, and it's definitely not my favorite film he's done, but I personally feel like Wes Anderson is definitely a generally moving, fun, and entertaining, even funny, is funny film that I very much enjoy. And The French Dispatch, I think, is a lot of fun. Now we're on to the top 10 movies that I personally felt to be my favorites of the year. All numbers 11 through 31 are all very good in their way, shape, or form, but these are the 10 movies I personally feel like there's a lot more rewatchable factor to with these other ones. So coming in number 10, I decided to cheat with this and put and this is a Netflix horror trilogy based on a series of books by R.L. Stine. This is, of course, the Fear Street trilogy.
Forever.
It's been 3 centuries. It stops here. It stops with us. Who the hell was that?
How should I know? She was hot. The bitch seemed normal.
Amazing observation.
Your best chance is to run from this place.
On Shady Side, we're all cursed. The devil is in me.
Any tips for fighting these things?
Try not to die.
Welcome to the suck.
come back from that motherfucker.
The Fear Street trilogy, this was initially supposed to go to theaters, but the fact that Netflix took this and bought it, and the fact that they had to go very ambitious with it and release this for a 3-week long month of July, that's very ambitious and very creative for Netflix to do. I was able to get early virtual screenings to see these movies early, and I reviewed them as a trilogy. Fear Street Part 1, 1994, it did a great job at setting up what we were getting, and I did like a lot that was set up in the movie. My least favorite, of course, is 1666, but I definitely still enjoyed that one as well. And Fear Street 1978 is my favorite of the bunch. It feels like Friday the 13th, Sleepaway Camp, the old classic 1970s B horror. And R.L. Stine did a really good job at allowing Netflix to take his series of books and make it like this. So I definitely have to give mad respect to Netflix for doing that. And not only that they have to shoot all 3 movies at once with the director involved and the performances involved, I thought everyone in this movie, in this trilogy, did a good job. From Sadie Sink to Maya Hawke to Kian Madria to Emily Rhodes to Benjamin Flores. It's an insane cast of actors, and each of these movies build onto each one. Every time I watched one of them, it made me excited for the next one. And then when the next one came, I wanted to see how things concluded. And it would be fun to see Netflix take on something else like this again, where you have 3 movies and release it through a 3-week grace period over the course of a month. Because that would actually be a fun thing to actually do. And I very much appreciate the Fear Street trilogy. And if this does get a DVD release day one, the Epictasticness will own it. Number 9 for me is going to be Steven Spielberg's remake of West Side Story.
Even more than love.
2021 West Side Story. Considering the fact that I am a fan of the 1961 West Side Story, and I do like the West Side Story musical, just the story involved, this had to definitely live up to my expectations, as well as live up to a lot of people's expectations. The original 1961 West Side Story is obviously a classic by any means necessary. There are some things in it that doesn't hold up today, like the blackface, which I can get over because it was made in the 60s, but Steven Spielberg, not only took the original musical and the original 1961 classic and made it into his own with this remake, but he also honored that original source material and made it better. I feel like he did a really good job at honoring the classic, but also bringing his own flavor, his own individuality to it. Top that off, his direction is very passionate, and I did feel that in a lot of the directing. The musical numbers, the choreography, and the way the movie looks from a technical standpoint, as a production, costumes, and the lighting standpoint, is a well done look at the film. I thought the performances all the way around were very good. This is a very impressive debut for Rachel Zegler. I also love Gortz. I know about the controversy. I thought he did good as Tony. I also very much like the performances of some of the other characters, including Officer Krupke, who is not a big role, but I definitely enjoyed how they handled Officer Krupke in this movie, and it's definitely worth it. It's kind of sucks that this movie did fight an uphill battle coming out a week before Spider-Man No Way Home, and it is the victim of a box office underperformance. But I will encourage you guys, even if you don't like this new version of West Side Story for whatever reason, the characters of Riff and Bernardo are very good. There's great character development. There are some story changes that they have. There's an added grittiness to the film, and the central romance is really good for the layers given to Tony and Maria. And in a lot of ways, it is Romeo and Juliet, except West Side Story style. But this is a remake that was not only very passionate, and I definitely do feel like if you guys have the chance, definitely give this movie your support. It is worth your time. It is a long movie. It's 2 hours and 36 minutes. Didn't feel it. And I found West Side Story to be a very satisfying musical experience. Coming in 8th place, we have Barb and Star Go to Vel Del Mar.
Oh, I'd love it if it came out February 12th. Gosh, I love that date.
Talk about the craziest movie that I experienced this entire year. And this is a comedy. Not everyone will enjoy the crazy comedy wackiness that this movie has to offer, but I enjoyed it just enough for it to make my high of the best. I thought that Barb and Star Go to Vel Del Mar, it delivered exactly what it promised, what it set out to do. It was trying to be a very entertaining, interesting film. I really enjoyed the chemistry between Kristen Wiig and Annie Mumolo. It's a very well directed film. It's very well shot. I think this movie is also really well edited. It's very fun, very fast paced for the hour and 52 minutes. Jamie Dornan was a big surprise. I love Damon Wayans Jr., but this movie's heart was in the right place. It knew what it was. It wasn't trying to be something that it wasn't. It knew what it wanted to be, and a lot of the jokes worked for me. A few of the jokes didn't land at times. It does go on for a little bit too long, and while I do wish there are some actors I thought were a bit in it a bit more, I will say that this had a lot more good than bad. This is definitely different. It's very crazy. It's very kooky, but it's a nice little entertaining romp that you can enjoy. It's not going to be the greatest thing ever, but it's not trying to be the Oscar-winning movie. It just wants to be a fun, wacky film. And for that, I commend you for doing that. It definitely did what it set out to do. And I loved it. Coming in 7th place is Spider-Man No Way Home.
What's happening? They're starting to come through, and I can't stop them.
This is my second best favorite MCU movie of the year. Black Widow is be third, and Eternals will obviously be my least favorite because that movie was just frustrating. But No Way Home made up for it. It was definitely better paced. It definitely had a better story, and taking what Homecoming and Far From Home set up and building onto it in a satisfying manner. It did deliver on that promise. Here, following the events of the last movie, you see Peter at his lowest, and that's the thing I most appreciate. A lot of people know who his identity is. He gets to go to Doctor Strange for help, and he's trying to find out how to stop this and how to get all these villains back home. All the villains in this movie, I think, are very great. This is my favorite of the Tom Holland era. It takes a bold risk in dealing with the identity crisis from the last movie. It definitely delivers on the action sequences spectacle. You have the emotional stakes and weight is there, especially with some of the characters that do get a little more to do, and definitely with a big surprise death that very much got me emotional. And this has Tom Holland's best performance in Spider-Man yet. He is at his most vulnerable here, but I think he does a very good job here. Not to mention, and Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, Marissa Tomei, even Benedict Cumberbatch, which is great to see him as Doctor Strange, as a tie to his set up his movie, which at the end of the film, I thought their performances were great. The direction in this movie is definitely overlooked by John. He's having to take this high school kid who's from a lighthearted sequel and lighthearted first movie to a more darker and grandiose film. Having all these villains like Alfred Molina as Doc Ock and Jamie Foxx's Electro and Harry Osborn, William Dafoe. I think all those performances are really great. But the icing on the cake for me was definitely seeing Tom Holland Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield replaying their parts of Spider-Man from their franchises, wrapped up into one movie, and they all get their great moments together. I honestly, there were quite a couple of times in this movie where I was very much sentimental, and I got pretty emotional at points. And I don't think we need the Amazing Spider-Man 3 or Spider-Man 4, but if they were somehow able to have them show up somehow, some way into more future MCU Spider-Man movies, I would be up for it. And with this movie being the success that it is, bring on Miles Morales and his live-action debuts. And Across the Spider-Verse is going to be just as great as this. Into the Spider-Verse has proven that you could take a multiverse, just like DC before we got into the Spider-Verse with the Arrowverse crossovers, and make it work if you really put all your heart into it. In No Way Home, the heart is into it. Coming in 6th place is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
That's my dad.
I'm gonna get you out of here alive.
I'm going to get you out of here alive.
Ratatouille, what do you got?
Bird.
Now it. Stay off the comm.
I think this is a better improvement over the last movie. I think this is a major improvement over the last film. Even though I don't hate the 2016 Suicide Squad, I can still watch that movie as background noise and I can enjoy parts of it. But at the end of the day, it is a 2-hour music video of a frustrating movie that was desperately heavily mandated by the studio. Whereas this version of the Suicide Squad, you definitely see James Gunn's passion, and Warner Brothers now, because of those events that transpired with studio interference, they just allowed James Gunn to do whatever he wanted with this. And I'm glad he got to do whatever he wanted with this. Very good in the way it is handled. It's R-rated, it's bloody, it's unapologetic, it's over the top, but it's a lot of fun. This is a tons of fun. Definitely one of the best movies of the year, and number 6 for sure. Definitely in my top 3 favorite DCEU movies. James Gunn did his thing in terms of writing and direction. I thought the story was great. It's simple, it's interesting. These group of villains having to go after Project Starfish is bloody. It has a sense of emotional weight. It's very funny in a lot of roles. The action scenes screams epictastically awesome. I think all the cast in this movie as well. A lot of characters, love the performances, a lot of the characters in this movie. Idris Elba, of course, he's great as Bloodsport. He's not copying Will Smith's Deathshot. John Cena is a lot of fun as Peacemaker. I can't wait for his show. Harley Quinn is Harley Quinn. That's all I can say about Margot Robbie. Sylvester Stallone as Nanawe, King Shark. He eats people, but he's also pretty adorable and very funny. David Dastmalchian as Polka Dot Man was very interesting. I also like other performances like Viola Davis, Steve Agee, and Jennifer Holland. And personally, the best performance in the entire movie, and probably my favorite performance of this entire year, Cleo Cazo, Ratcatcher 2 herself, Daniela Melchior. She is absolutely very great, and she is a star on the rise. She is a star on the rise. We're going to be seeing a lot more of her in films. A lot of the emotional and great character moments come from her and the humanity side of the movie. Definitely has its issues. I feel like there could have been at least that some of the villains like Weasel and Captain Boomerang could have been in it a little bit more. And it is a little slow in some of that first half. And going into the second half at times. And you didn't really need Harley Quinn necessarily. And of course, the ending is all kinds of crazy, but I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, the Suicide Squad, despite it not doing well at the box office this year, again, thank you, Pandemic and HBO Max for that. I thought this was a better Suicide Squad movie than 2016 movie, and if James Gunn does the third one with the same cast and bring Will Smith back, as well as some new characters, I would definitely watch it. Kicking into the top 5 of 2021, and we will wrap this up. My number 5 is going to be Last Night in Soho.
You did.
I've done a lot of things. You're gonna have to be more specific, love.
You can't save me.
This is Edgar Wright's psychological horror thriller, which this is another movie that did not do so hot at the box office. But this is a really good movie for him to step into the horror zone. He definitely got this movie down to a T. It's very underrated, very underappreciated. It's very well written and very well directed. And it has great, gorgeous visual cinematography and a great story about this main character. And she's able to travel to the 1960s past to uncover this mystery that is there. And Edgar Wright delivers another great original film that is ambitious, is visually stylish, and is masterfully directed. And this is a movie that I feel like should be in the talk for Oscars. The direction is amazing. I think the editing is very good for the most part. The cinematography is very well done. The music is well choices. And when you get to the twist of this movie, some people won't like the twist, but for me, I personally very much enjoyed the twist a lot. And the music is all well chosen, the production design, costumes, the money is on screen. There's some good moments of Suspiria, and the tension is there. I definitely see the tension and the horror vibes there. If it was up to me, Edgar Wright, Thomasin McKenzie, and Anya Taylor-Joy will all be nominated for awards for this. But this truly the standout of this, besides Edgar Wright's direction, is Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy as Eloise and Sandy. Their performances are what makes this movie. The rest of the performances are great, like Matt Smith and Michael Ayala, and this is the last movie, of course, for Diana Rigg and Margaret Nolan. And while the script isn't 100% perfect, and it is a little slow, West Side Story is definitely, not West Side Story, Last Night in Soho, I apologize. Last Night in Soho is definitely one of the best scary movies you will see this year. It's not going to work for everybody, but it worked for me. And as someone who appreciated this highly ambitious, creative film that shows why Edgar Wright is a great director, this is a very innovative, well put together horror film that is like anything he has done before. And this is a very psychological, terrifying, downright bizarre film, but is the most daring film that he's done. And it is a great film. Yeah. Kicking in to the top 4 of 2021. My number 4 is going to be the best sci-fi masterpiece experience that I had the pleasure of watching this year, and that is Denis Villeneuve's first part of his 2-part adaptation, as well as planned trilogy, I guess, of Frank Herbert's classic book, Dune.
If anything happens, will you protect Paul?
With my life.
Only together can we stand a chance.
Dune, this had a very big task to prove because the 1984 movie version is not that great of a film by David Lynch. So I went into this with a lot of excitement, but I did have some skepticism because of that film. And what I got was not only a film that was just as great as his last sci-fi movie, Blade Runner 2049, which is my favorite film of his, but it was a very transcending cinematic experience. Not everyone's going to like this movie because it is the first half. It is a very slow-paced film. But Dune 2021, it worked for me in a lot of ways. This movie, it fought the uphill battle. It was satisfying. It definitely delivered exactly what it set out to do. It really won me over as far as being very respectful of his source material while taking some liberties to make this adaptation work, and it is the best interpretation of this book that you will ever see. He did the impossible and took something that has been difficult to make work on screen and made it into a visually sci-fi masterpiece with great visual effects, beautiful cinematography with fantastic direction by Villeneuve himself, the script and dialogue and the themes and the gorgeous cinematography by Greg Fraser, as well as a great score by Hans Zimmer, which I think all of those should be nominated next year. But truly, it's the performances that elevates the source material, with Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides, Jason Momoa, Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, Zendaya for her little screen time, Javier Bardem, Stellan Skarsgård, which we'll see more of in the sequel. And the biggest surprise of this entire movie, Rebecca Ferguson is Lady Jessica, which all of my worries about her went out the door when I saw this. And the mother and son relationship plays a very big part into the beginning, middle, and end. And I'm very curious to see how the second half is going to go in October 2023, because this is definitely the Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, except it's its own flavor, its own beast. And if I had only real issue when it comes to this movie, I will say I felt like they should have shot both of these at once. But at the same time, this movie definitely made the money. HBO Max and theaters did help this film. And Villeneuve did the impossible. So I was very happy on how this incredible film turned out. Kicking into the top 3 best movies 2021, we have A24's The Green Knight.
Do not waste this.
I am a sucker for the King Arthur stories. I am a sucker for medieval films. And this is definitely one of the best movies of the year. This is, granted, this is not everyone's cup of tea. I will admit that. You definitely do have to be in the right mood for this. From the entire movie, I never felt bored for its 2 hours and 14 minutes. The direction was great. I think the costume design, production design is very well done. It's a great, amazing attention to detail, and a movie that I personally felt I should have done way better than it did this year. But when it comes to A24, they're not going to get a $300 million box office gross. And they're always very divisive. A24 is one of the most divisive film companies out there working today. I think the musical score is great. It's very visually pleasing to the eyes. And this is a Christmas movie. So take that into account for what you will. And this movie, it is a slow burn, which that might turn some people off. But I think it's a very good slow burn with some great character depth, especially with the character of Sir Gawain, played by Dev Patel. And it's a great story that respects his King Arthur legends. It takes the Arthurian legends and respects it, but is able to create something its own flavor. And it's visually incredible, and a lot of the rest of the performances in this movie are really good. Like Alicia Vikander was great, and Aaron Kellyman, and some of the rest of the performances, and Ralph Ineson. I think everyone in this movie is really good. Joe Egerton. This is one of my favorite films that I was very satisfied to do. And there's not a lot of action, there's not a lot of fighting or anything. It almost a complete lack of it, but I think it makes it much more better and much more interesting and much more original for that. By limiting this, you're able to get a much more contemplative and much more patient, character-driven movie. So definitely know who you are going into this. If you're one of those people who did not see The Green Knight, watch it. It's awesome. You won't regret it. And if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. But this is definitely one of my favorite King Arthur adaptations to see in a very long time. Now, the top 2. Coming in the runner-up in this category, I have to go with my guts here. This movie made me really happy back when it came out in March. And that is Godzilla vs. Kong.
The myths are real. Yeah. There was a war. And they're the last ones standing.
I keep reaching for greatness because I'm built from it.
Who bows to who?
Nobody gonna stop me. Here we go.
Kong bows to no one.
Here we go.
I know there are some people who don't like Godzilla vs. Kong at all. I know there's some people who don't like the MonsterVerse series. That's fine. More power to them. There's nothing I'm going to say that's going to change your mind on this or the MonsterVerse, nor do I want to change your mind. I just want to talk about that the fact that we got a new movie with Godzilla and King Kong 60 years after the first 1962 film, and I definitely felt satisfied watching this. Fun kaiju monster. It was great to see both of these two, Godzilla and King Kong, fight each other in full CGI with the military fighting them in the whole aircraft scene in the beginning, and then them fighting in Hong Kong. And definitely when you get to the end of the movie where you see the two of them having to tag team each other and work together and fight Mecha Godzilla, which that was a big surprise, which you didn't see in the movie, in the trailer. But I still felt very happy seeing these two heroes fight Mecha Godzilla. That was a heck of a fight to see, and the action was cool. It's a very well directed film by Adam Wingard. Great cinematography, great production design. It's very well structured in terms of its visual aesthetics, and it definitely is pleasing to the eyes in a lot of ways. The performances, I think, are very good. From Alexander Skarsgård to Millie Bobby Brown to Rebecca Hall to Gillian Dennison, Kyle Chandler, Damian Bashir, Kaylee Hoddle in her first film, Isaac Gonzalez. You could have given her more to do. I didn't think it was necessary to kill her off. And there could have been some character development for some of these characters, but when you go into a monster movie, you kind of have to know what you're getting yourself into. Not every monster movie is going to have character development, unless you're Jurassic Park or the original Godzilla. But Godzilla vs. Kong, I have a fun time with this. I do. I definitely love watching the film, rewatching it, and watching the special features. I feel satisfied with Godzilla vs. Kong, and I definitely want to see more from this MonsterVerse, especially with Godzilla and Kong. But obviously, I have to get into my number one favorite movie of the year. This is, of course, an MCU movie. Usually you see DC or something else here, but my favorite movie of 2021 is going to be Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
My son, you can't run from your past.
Is this what you wanted?
You got this.
Thank you.
This was definitely the best MCU movie of the year, and this is definitely my favorite superhero movie of this entire year. I loved Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This had a lot to prove. This is a great martial arts film. I love martial arts. I love superhero movies. And this was able to take a blend of the two. And I loved it. I thought this was definitely a great superhero movie that we needed. I love the rivalry between the father and the son with Shang-Chi and Mandarin. The Mandarin was definitely redeemed after the last movie he was in, which was Iron Man 3. Simu Liu is a great addition to the MCU as Shang-Chi. The action scenes and the fight choreography are some of the best fight and action choreography that I very much have a lot of fun watching. The production design and costume design is very meticulously well done. The score is also really well done. I like the emotional heart and centerpiece of the movie about relationships. Definitely has subtitles for Japanese, Chinese culture, but I'm used to it at this point. Some of the other characters, I love Aquafina as Katie. She was very funny and very interesting. She's not the love interest. She actually stood on her own. Tony Lone as Mandarin, I thought was really great. You have one of my new favorite female characters in the MCU, which is, of course, Xia Ling, played by Mingr Zhang in her first film. She is a lot of fun to watch. Her introduction in this movie is still very awesome.
Kick-ass.
And when you get down to it, this is a fun martial arts entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's nice to see the MCU after the whole Thanos era to be more ambitious and go into some places that you usually would not expect, especially with the multiverse and the cosmic era, which we'll be seeing more of with Fantastic Four and the Marvels in 2023, and with the X-Men, and with the Eternals, hopefully with the sequel should be better, and stuff like this, where you get to have martial arts characters. It's Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings. I feel satisfied with it. I will own it because this is a fun martial arts film. It's definitely one of my favorite martial arts films, considering the fact I love martial arts in the film, like Enter the Dragon and The Last Dragon and such. I had a good time with Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings, and I think you will too. So, that was my best movies of 2021. My top 31 best, plus a lot of honorable mentions. In the comment section down below, what did you think of this list? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are some of your favorites? This is going to be a pretty long edit because I do have to put the clips in, I do have to put the trailer in, I do have to put the posters in. If I want to add some little YouTube memes, I'll put those in as well. But I'm very, very happy I got to talk about all these movies in 2021. 2022, let's have a lot more fun that year, and there's going to be a lot more awesome movies that year. And with that being said, all my social media links, description box down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.